Did you know that studies show the median age for steroid use is 15?
Research shows that it's not just teen boys, it's teen girls are the fastest growing rate in steroid use. Did you know that researchers concluded that steroid users would take a pill or powder if it guaranteed athletic success?
Research finds that 8% of male athletes have admitted to using steroids.
Did you know that 36% of male athletes have said that they know someone who have used steroids?
The following is a reenactment of a father of a local Plano High School student athlete who took his own life due to the side effects of depression regarding performance-enhancing drugs.
How did steroid abuse affect your family?
The steroid use was very difficult once we discovered the depth of the problem and all the issues that were created. The problems were quite numerous, affecting the whole family. There was dealing with lies, stealing, and all types of denial that led to trust issues. So the family was tremendously impacted and tried numerous approaches to dealing with Taylor's issues.
How did steroid abuse affect your son?
Taylor was affected by not only the physical impact of steroid use, but also the mental aspects. He put on weight and muscle mass, along with some of the skin rashes and breakouts. Taylor's mood swings, and sometimes he would go off in rants or rages that were very consistent with steroid use. He also felt extremely depressed.
What do you think made him start doing steroids?
We believe that this was influenced by his peers, high school players, coaches, and pro athletes, that this was the answer to be bigger, stronger, quicker, and more successful in athletics.
Did you notice a difference in him while he was taking steroids?
Absolutely. Taylor put on significant weight and muscle mass, so as his physical appearance change was very noticeable. Taylor's whole personality and how he interacted with people was greatly changed. The impact was absolutely devastating and was the cause of Taylor taking his own life.
The following interviews are from individuals who had real-life experiences with performance-enhancing drugs. Here are their stories.
I played baseball, it would have been like 12 years-ish. Started with t-ball when I was like 6 or 7, and then all the way up until I was 18 or 19 in high school.
When was your first encounter with steroids?
I never directly had an encounter with steroids per se, but there was always signs of guys that were doing steroids. I can remember back to like 8th grade year in middle school when there were guys that were coming back from summer break, and it wasn't the natural growth spurt. I mean, these guys, they had a lot of acne on the back. They were noticeably just like the muscle tone that a normal freshman in high school should have, or an 8th grader. They were monstrous in comparison. So there was never the direct encounter, but there were always signs.
Have you been affected by the use of steroids amongst fellow athletes?
You know, it's hard for me to say that I was affected by the use of steroids in fellow athletes, because to be affected by it, I think it has to be an overwhelming issue. It has to be MLB scale in the 1990s to truly be affected by it. But you know, you could always tell who was on steroids.
Have you experienced pressure when it comes to partaking in steroid use?
Pressure I've never experienced. There's never been anybody that's came up to me with a syringe. But it's been one of those things where, yeah, of course an athlete has thought about it. Can you take something that will make you a great athlete? I mean, it wouldn't turn me into an MLB player, but it would turn a guy like Ken Griffey Jr., who was extremely outspoken about steroid usage and how it's a negative thing for baseball. It would probably have turned him into the greatest baseball player of all time. So, I mean, the impact is really just to each its own scale, in a way.
Would you consider steroids an unfair advantage?
Again, it really depends on the level of play. If we're talking high school and there's a guy that's cranking 30 home runs a year, and everybody else is hitting 10, then definitely. But if we're talking MLB and those guys that are taking steroids and the guys that aren't taking steroids, they're both great players, I think it really doesn't affect the game a whole lot regarding who is and who isn't.
Did you notice that like the athletes that you were playing with that were doing steroids, did they perform better than the athletes that weren't using steroids?
To say that they were performing better than the other athletes, they're performing better than themselves, especially the guys that you played with. You could see it from year to year, is this guy's really not that great of a hitter, he's not that agile, and he's really not that fast. And then the next year he comes back and he's batting in the 3 position, he's your best hitter, and he's leading the base in RBI, or he's leading the league in RBI. So yeah, I think it's one of those things, it's a sliding scale considered with talent, but the upside is definitely higher if you did take steroids.
Did you know personally any athlete who took performance-enhancing drugs?
Yes, I actually had a best friend of mine back in high school, and he took steroids just so he can get a scholarship and advance on and go to a better school and eventually play professionally. But he ended up getting addicted to it, and it all started with a baseline drug, and it led up to him taking steroids and using cocaine and all the other substances.
Do you think that steroids do in fact enhance athletic performance?
Yes, for sure they do enhance performance, obviously. That's why they're illegal in sports. Even though, especially the baseball athletes still tend to take them. But when you do get caught, you have to pay the consequences, so just try not.
How prevalent do you think that performance-enhancing drugs, or PEDs, are in sports today, such as baseball?
Obviously, baseball is the #1 sport when it comes to steroids. A lot of athletes tend to take steroids for baseball, and it's all over the news. At least once a year, you hear of someone testing positive for steroids. So, yes, it is out there and it is well known.
Do you know of any events that personally happened to you where performance-enhancing drugs were prevalent and involved?
Yes, it goes back to my best friend earlier. We were really close. Played sports from elementary school, and he ended up taking steroids in high school, and he just went downhill from there, and I've never seen him since. So.
Thank you.